Right, everyone at some point has heard of pro wrestling in the past, and many people have favorites of wrestlers, and we want to know what makes a wrestler popular. So what we're going to be talking about is some people like Triple H, who we all know is the face of WWE and NXT, and he's currently being portrayed in everything, video games, TV specials. He's won so many competitions and championships. It's just ridiculous. But he started out as terrorizing, and then he switched over to being a blue-blooded Frenchman as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who we know now as Triple H. And obviously this is all sounding ridiculous because it's a story that they made up for him. He's not actually French. He can't speak any French. He grew up in Canada, so he knows a little bit, but he just does a French accent. So we know how strange wrestlers can really be, but we just want to take a look at a few of them, like Undertaker, Goldust, Sergeant Slaughter, Boogeyman, and my favorite, the Dramatic Dream Team. There's nothing a wrestling company won't do to make their people popular, so they'll make up any story they can think of that might catch someone's attention. So we're going to look at how ridiculous we can make them. So the pro wrestling that we know has really started in the 1980s when cable television really started. And obviously that began with Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Andre the Giant, everyone knows those people. But we're going to first look at Sergeant Slaughter, who was an extremely popular wrestler. He was only a little bit below Hulk Hogan in his heyday with popularity. But what he started out was the Super Destroyer Mark II. Where do you come up with these names? So he became a drill instructor named Slaughter in the 80s after he lost popularity in the 70s with his name. But he actually got so popular that G.I. Joe came up to him, and they wanted to get him to do licensing. So he had to actually leave WWE because they were with LJN, and later reunited with them in 1992. So next we go to Undertaker. Everyone knows who he is. He had a bunch of purple paint, very gray outfit. The only ways that you could beat him during a match were either burying him alive or sealing him in a sarcophagus. And then he'd later come back. He was always a consistent winner. You had Goldust, a sexually ambiguous character who would constantly stroke himself during the match to try and get people to, freak out. He was known as a big villain. He wanted to be a drag queen that was really into the Oscars until he realized what that meant, and then he did not want to do it anymore. So then we go on to Boogeyman, who was a horror stylized wrestler. He was well known for coming out in the first half with a giant clock, playing a song from Nightmare on Elm Street. And he would smash it over his head, and he would just do stupid stuff like chew on worms and spit on them on people and bite them. And he once again left pretty quickly because it wasn't, too popular. But then we get to Japan, who has some of the most ridiculous people. And that's where the Dramatic Dream Team comes in, or DDT as they're known there. It's one of the biggest indie wrestling leagues in Japan currently. And it's well known for its slew of just strange characters all the time. One of the main ones that we're going to be talking about is Yoshihiko, which is the Japanese love doll. And it's won multiple matches and multiple championships in Japan, even though it's just an inflatable doll. People just come in and throw him into the ring and he wins. Can't get much worse than that. Until you get to his sister, which is also just another inflatable doll, and it's won 3 championships in a row in Japan. They're just crazy over there, I guess, but she's won the Iron Man Heavyweight Championship. And you don't think that's really impressive because it's actually just rock, paper, scissors and making your opponent cry and really stupid stuff like that. But that's what gets people to watch wrestling, is having people interesting. And that's the conclusion for this, is that we just want something interesting to watch, and that's what they're going to constantly make wrestlers. Any questions? Yes?
In your opinion, which wrestler has left the greatest legacy for pro wrestling?
It's really debatable because a lot of people say either Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage. I would say probably Hulk Hogan still. All right, and that should conclude it.